Welcome everybody to another session. This is going to be an exciting one. We are talking about also quite a nice topic. This is the one that will help you when you start going into the boardroom. We're talking about a strategy for doing data visualization, but not just data visualization for it to stay in your room or in your computer, but this is for the knowledge economy or the sharing economy, meant to say. So it's what are the best strategies for creating data visualization for the sharing economy. Sharing economy is a keyword, which means whatever you're gonna be doing will be consumed not by you, but by somebody else. So the whole idea that we do here, we can be as good visualization expert as possible. If we are not able to make it make sense to the next person, we have really totally failed. Some of my work when I was a sales analyst, I had to create reports that would make sense on the front-end consultants in the bank on what was their targets, daily targets looking like. When the reports are confusing for them to read, your report is useless. It doesn't matter whether you get a PhD in analytics. So what matters is for us to look at strategies for creating those data visualization, but for sharing with somebody else. So not for your own consumption. For your own consumption, I mean, you can go crazy. You can do whatever you want to do. But if you share them with somebody else, think about it. If you share them with somebody else, the whole idea is it should make sense to the next person. The next person cannot follow through the simple logic to say, this is where I'm going to make an example with consultants. This is where my application started. This is where they started falling off, whether it's a back-end processing, they get cut off, or because of bad credit scoring, they get cut off, they can't get the product. And this is how much I've done for the month towards my sales target. If you cannot give that simple thing, because they want to see, is all my apps captured? Are they the same as the one that I wrote on my black book? Is my sales, the conversion, is it the same as the target? If they hit the target, they earn a commission. So I started working in 2008 when commission was still, a big thing in banks. So everybody else relied heavily on that report that we're sending out because that's money in their bank. That's commission. So the whole idea is, what do we do now in 2023, many years later? What do we do now to make sure that whatever we're sending out makes sense and the person that's receiving it can be able to get it and understand it quite well? So I'm going to go back to the whole iceberg of information. Remember, in one of the stuff we spoken about this iceberg. So we said there's a huge iceberg here. I'm going to make the water level here. The whole issue is, as much as we can talk about other people in the organization, but what the study by Yoshida, a person that did the study, I think it was 1989, he realized that the top executive, the people here in the top, only know about 4% of the problems within the organization back then. And they did another study. I mean, the number hasn't improved. So all the problems, whether the system is not working, there's no people, whatever those problems are, only 4% go all the way to the top. And the people that are at the bottom here, which are front-end consultants or front-end personnel, they know about all the problems, 100% of the problems. And what we do as analysts, our job is to create reports that takes this, as many problems, to the top. And that's why we exist. And what we should be doing here is this should be clear and easy to read. One CEO said to me, he doesn't have time for my long emails because he reads like over 20 or 30 memos a day. And for you guys, a memo is not just one page. Sometimes it could be like 50 pages because they're trying to get his signature on something. The friend pies is nice, he's got his signature stuff. At the back, it's all these appendices. It's like, I'm reading 30 of those. I don't have time for a long email or a long thing. I just need a quick visual or a quick thing to say, what are the 3 things that I should be aware of? What should I do? Or what do you need approval on? So whatever we try to do with our visuals, or now our reports, our whole point is to try to let them know with as little as possible. And you can see now why visualization, knowing your strategy for visualizations become very, very key and very, very important. Okay, this is just the iceberg of ignorance. If this is the first time that you're seeing it, it's called iceberg of ignorance. Why is it ignorance? Because the top people which are on top of the water, they do not know, they are ignorant to all the problems within the organization or whatever is happening within the organization. Not because they want to, because there's not enough that's coming through. This is why I'm just giving out as simple tips. This is why analysts, we are such in demand. And that's why when I shared that the economy is going to boom like crazy for analysts, it's because the work that we're going to be doing, it doesn't matter how small it is, whether it's a graph in Excel, it's helping the person on top know about all the problems. So what you're thinking about, what about your middle managers and your senior manager? Senior manager, I think it's about 19%, and middle manager, which is like your team leader, it's about 74%. So they all got different level. Your team leader would know immediately because you keep on telling them, or your immediate analyst manager. But as you go to the senior managers, which is the head of department, they start knowing less and less of those problems because they have to, be broad about all the different, they just don't look at one particular area, which is sales. They have to know a little bit of sales, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of human resource, a little bit of this. So they end up not knowing 100% of sales in itself, or 100% of marketing in itself, 100% of human resources in itself. They just know a little bit of everything because they don't have enough time in a day. So whatever we do, quite important to send to the top. So let's start. I know I'm quite passionate about this. If we understand this opportunity that's in here, I do even write it in the book that this is like an information arbitrage. If you know about where the problems are, and if you can learn how to present them, like I do in chapter 9 or chapter 8, I go about tricks on how to present, which some of this that we're going to be talking about is part of it. If you know how to do all of these things, your reports will always go to the top. Okay, you might not be able to present sometime, but your report will always go to the top. Let's start. Okay, number 1 that we do when we have to look at this tricks on visualization is we still have to go back to, let's start at the beginning. We have to start by defining your problem. So understanding exactly what is required from you is still the golden ticket. Half the time, sometimes I would create some complicated reports on Power BI, only to find out that people just wanted an email to say, what is the update? Where are the critical areas? And we were able to do that. I was able to salvage whatever I did in Power BI and make it send as an email daily at 8 o'clock to say, this is why the snapshot looks like. But what they wanted was quite simple measures. But if you start by understanding or defining the problem and letting your audience or your clients, depending on what they are, be part of that problem, you will solve whatever we're going to be talking about. So start by that thing. That will help you quite a lot. And you must understand what is the purpose, why your audience want that information. To you, most of the time with the data people, it's quite irritating. Like, you also want that. I already gave it to another person. But in essence, you don't know what they need it for. And if you can sit and then understand what their pain points are by defining exactly what that problem goes by, you will be able to give them even more value on that side. Okay. Second one is about the matrices. So, because remember we're doing the sharing economy, okay? The matrices are not KPIs. Are not KPIs. KPIs is the key performance indicators in the company, where we like, okay, percentage of revenues or return on investment, return on assets. Those finance people would know all of those things. So the matrices that we're looking at here could be who's viewing the report, number of views, number of opens, number of transactions that are happening there. That the metrics for your report to say, is your report worth it or not? Understand those matrices. And what I would suggest is ask your audience to define your matrices for you, because it's their report. They're the one that says, like, for instance, I'm going to go back to the sales report that goes out to all the consultants. We want 95% of all the consultants to open this every day. That is your metrics that you can put in there. And what you come back, you say, we sent yesterday's sales report and it had 80% open rate. And that becomes the problem. When you go back to today, we had 99% open rate. And then you can now do the trend to say, why is it that the report that I'm sending out gets highest open rate? Maybe it's because of month end is where they are wrapping up their commission models. Then the matrices that's in here is not just the business KPI, it's the matrix for your report. If you understand what matrix is to be used, it's going to be helping you to know exactly how to build your report and how to do it before you share it. Other matrices that you can use can include user rating, can include reviews, or even comments in the report that you send out. Location. Others can include prices, depending on whatever report that you're building. And availability of the report could also be another measure that they put in to say, was the report available every day at 8 o'clock? So that will help you instead of going around and making something complicated that's not going to be available 8 o'clock every morning, knowing that you only come in at 9, or the data only gets there at 9. Once you know that once you know the metrics that they're going to be using to measure your report, you would know exactly what to do and how to do it. Okay. Number 3 is use the correct visuals, or I don't know what to call it, visual elements. Okay. So this is where what you can think about is the pie chart necessary? Is the graph necessary? Is the line chart necessary to represent whatever we do? So here we have the matrices on number 2. Number 3, we're now going into your report to say, what do they want to see? If it's, I'm going to go back to the one that checks how many sales are being done per day. It might be nice to show a line graph if you want to show the growth. But if you just want to see how much are coming towards the target, just a bar might be okay. Or sometimes just a simple table might be okay. That just says, month to date, this is what our target looks like. If we take this is what our actuals look like, meant to say. If we take the target and we break it down by a number of trading days, this is where we should be going, which we used to call the run rate. And then this is where the variance is. And then on the other side here, you might still have the full month target to say, but to the full month target, we are 20% to target. But to the daily run rate, we are 99% to target, or we are 101% to target, depending on whatever campaign that they do. So all of that using the right visuals is quite important. These visuals, don't don't thumbs up them. Don't try to do them yourself. Ask your audience to tell you what they want to see on their visuals. Okay. So I think it quite helps that way. So make sure that those visuals that they're gonna pick, it's simple and they understand it and it's not misleading to them. Because if you create your own visuals, it might be misleading to you. The fourth one that you can do but it's optional. So let me just write it in green here, because it's not like everybody should be doing this. It's just optional depending on what report you need to do. It just to provide context or explanation on whatever you are presenting. So for us, when we were doing PowerPoint in Excel reports, it's okay to just show the graphs and the numbers. I mean, people will be able to understand that. I mean, even call center people will be able to understand that. But once you go up the ladder to senior managers, they would want it in PowerPoint. So you'd have the graph in PowerPoint to say this is what the graph is. And at the top, we'll provide the proper heading for it to say, we are sitting at 95% to target with 17 trading days. So that commentary that you put in the top, the strap line, you know, where you put the slide heading, we would put context there. We would put the heading, yet month to date sales. And then at the bottom, we'll write in a smaller font to say the trading, the sales year to date thing has been catching up to this much percentage to target because of this thing. We haven't seen the impact of whatever campaign as yet. And then you show the graph. So this number 4, it is optional, where you present context for your visual to make sure that you are, when you press the send, people can actually understand what you were cooking all along. Okay. The number 5 one is the one that we all hate, especially if you know, if you are like an introvert, you don't like this one. This is where you test your visual and you require feedback. Best way to get testing and feedback, I would say it's with your audience. But if you are starting and you don't want your audience to be laughing at you, test this with your team. So your team will be able to help you out. If you have direct reports, even better. Don't think that you're a big shot. Just pull them in. Guys, come over. Can you tell me what's happening on the screen? If they can't tell you what's happening, there's something wrong that you have cooked there. Nobody can understand it. So test your report and require feedback as soon as possible before you go see the audience. If your audience is open and they're flexible, you can get them all the time. You can still do it with your audience. But in the you can just imagine in that report that I was talking about that goes to the front end sales people, you wouldn't want to be sending wrong things to the front end sales people. They're going to be confused to say, oh, hang on a second, what's happening here? So your audience in that case might be the wrong strategy. You might have to start with your team, your direct reports, your peers around you to say, can you see here? Do you think it makes sense? Go around, ask one consultant, give them a call. Hey, how's it? I'm going to send you something about yourself. Does it make sense? Yes, it does make sense. Thank you. Drop the call another guy. I used to have a guy, Khotso, who used to do that for us. He would just call the different people to say, hey, can you understand the report? And then that's where we would get feedback to say, hey, can you move these things to the top? And then we would go all of that. It was just an Excel. I mean, this was like early 2010. It was just an Excel report that we were converting to PDF, to a Power PDF when we were sending out, so that the people don't fiddle around with the numbers. And we would send another copy to the branch manager, so that the branch manager would know what's happening. And each consultant, you can just imagine, would get that report from their branch manager, because we only had like 400 branches. So we'd set up our system, our manual system. This was way before Power BI. If you were thinking about Power BI and Tableau only came 2013. Power BI only came 2016, so 2015. So I tested Power BI. I started using Power BI in 2016. So in 2010, we were doing all of this manually. So you write a VBA code on Excel, on Excel, so that when you press the button, it converts whatever you see into PDF, and then it goes to opens up Outlook, and then it sends the email. So all we need to do just for an hour is just to select one branch, press send, one branch, press send, one branch, press send. It was a tedious process, but at least the VBA code helped. So that's where somewhere I would say, learning how to code sometimes might help, but it's not necessary nowadays, because there's so much no code things. I'm blown away. I'm like, if I studied in this era, I'm probably gonna be, I was gonna get higher marks, because in the back day, it used to be horrible. Test your report. That's what we used to do. And then after testing the report, the last thing that we do is now you go and you present. Here, present or share, because remember, this is for the sharing economy with audience. Okay, so once you get here and you share, your first share will tell you the success of your report. If your report is horrible, you can, already do the 7th step, which is improvement. Wherever the improvements is, it could, you could go back to here testing, or you could go back all the way to bringing in context, or you could go all the way to making sure that you choose new visuals. But it's when you start sharing that you know what to do. So this one is just continuous improvement in here. And then you just keep on going. The main aim here, you must remember, it is not visualization. It's visualization for the sharing economy. So the people that you're sharing with will be the one that tells you. But if you follow this 7-step process, it will help you know probably where things are going wrong and what can you do. If you get to this point and people are saying you did a horrible job, the problem might be here in the beginning. You didn't define the right problem with your audience. Maybe you might have to skip all the way to improvement and then go back to step number 1, and then you properly redefine to say, what do you want to see and how do you want to see it? Another thing, when somebody comes over and say, but people are not looking at it, then you can say, hang on a second, our measure was it needs to be available 8 o'clock in the morning, not high or 90% open rate. The metric that we're using with this report is 8 o'clock availability. The visuals that you choose, it might be bar chart, whatever the case is. Another tip that I will say here, don't just change the visual based on one person's opinion. If the group says we can't understand, if it's 10 people and 6 of them says we can't understand, then you change. But when it's just one person, what you can do is, it might be tedious, you just do a separate solution for that one person so that they can keep quiet. So for now, I'm just gonna come back to the room. I'm just gonna look at the hands. Evelyn, Sophia, Shadile, maybe you can bring in your voices here. Olarato also. Otherwise, you're more than welcome. How did you find this thing so far? Does it make sense? Is it something that you can implement probably starting from tomorrow? Or is it too advanced that it needs a PhD and you can only do it in 7 years from now? Please unmute, let me know.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, Evelyn.
Hi, yes. So I just wanted to find out in terms of the tools. So, with someone like me who is still wanting to enter the job market, and also with my background in economics and econometrics, what is the difference between Power BI and Tableau? Is there any difference?
So there's a huge difference. They do the same thing. The BI tools, meaning that they take data and they share that data using the web interface or using way of automating the graphs themselves. And then you can put it into your PowerPoint so that the graph is available there. Just in high level, that's just what I'm trying to explain. They are BI tools. But in terms of usability, popularity, and features, Tableau is number 1 in the world, okay, but is number 1 in the USA. In terms of the one that's widely used in South Africa, Power BI is the one that's mostly used in South Africa. Why? Because it's part of the Microsoft suite. So when you buy Outlook, Excel, whatever, and Power BI is already there. So a company will buy Power BI and it's easier for you to look for a job or find a job that says we're looking for a Power BI person. So to your other question that you asked silently, if you are considering entering the job market, if you go back to what we discussed on Monday, if you're thinking about getting hired in South Africa, Power BI might be a good bet. If you're thinking about freelancing while you're in South Africa, but for international markets, learning Tableau would be the best bet for you.
Okay. And sorry, just one last question. And then in terms of Python and SQL, I mean, with Python, is it a good idea to learn as a beginner? I mean, also someone who is still trying to enter the job market, or should I start with SQL and then slowly go into Python, or both simultaneously?
Yeah. So in terms of that, what you are asking there is different steps of whatever data analysis. So Python is on the advanced step. That's where it falls under data science and advanced analytics. Where you are, where you say I'm starting to get into the job market, I would say a simpler tool that's used everywhere, which is Microsoft Excel, might be a better tool for you. SQL comes in on the intermediate one, where you are now dealing with data that is big enough not to be seen. You know, Excel has got a limit of a million rows, 1 million and something rows. When you got 2 million records, you can't analyze them on Excel. Then you move them into SQL. But if you have like 10,000 records or 1 million records, you can still analyze those in Excel. It will just be slower, but you can still do it in Excel. And Excel is got now better feature. The article that I wrote today, it creates a data model, meaning it acts as if it's SQL, but it's still in Excel, and it still allows you now to, start working on data that you can't see. They call it a data model, more than 1 million rows. But if you are starting, I would say Excel is still the best one. Besides Excel is something called MS Access. I don't know if anybody uses Access anymore. But from there, then when you are already in the intermediate, then you go into SQL. When you go into Python, R, SAS, you name them, those are for advanced analytics. The difference between them, this one you can say, show me the highest sales numbers. Both Excel and SQL will be able to answer those questions. Python and R is the one that says, can you forecast what the sales numbers will look like next year on the 23rd of November? That's why I say advanced analytics. So I don't think you should focus on advanced analytics while you're trying to enter into the job market. That's just my take. I don't know if that makes sense, Evelyn.
All right, thank you.
Happy. Sophia Shadile Kamachelo, your voice is in here. How did you find this?
Hi guys.
Hi Shadile.
As I said earlier on, that I'm still just learning, and then this part actually for data visualization, it's actually my project for this week. So it was very interesting because the first step, you see, defining your problem, it's actually an issue that I have, but then I see how you were explaining everything, and then I know, like, if I'm struggling, then I can always go back to my team or the audience. So it was very insightful. I'm very happy I attended this session.
I'm glad that you are here. Another thing is to say, even though you're doing a project, they might mark you and say you have to have original work. But as analysts, there's no original work. We ask people all the time to even help us. So when you are stuck anywhere, don't sit there like it's in varsity where you can't copy. Ask somebody else to help you get the project out. The more project that you get out and you finish, the more the whole team will be happy, because now you're getting rid of projects. Because the more you work on, I'm still working on this project, I'm still, the more we look bad as a team, because it looks like we're not delivering. So when you are, I don't know if you guys do the daily stand-up and which one do you use, Kanban, waterfall, whatever methodology that you use every day when you when you come into the team meeting. As you come there, that's perfect example to opportunity to say, listen, guys, I don't think I'm cracking this thing in the 8 o'clock meeting, and you'll see some team member. If you're in a fair team, some team member will say, let me help you, because they know that if you're taking too long on that project, it goes bad on the whole team. So please, Shadile, if you could ask them and get clarification as soon as possible. And you might find out when you get to number 3 that they're going to ask for a simple visual. Always stick with simple. Don't complicate. What matters is you get down here, you present, and you hand over the project. That's the whole idea. Okay. I don't know if there's any other voices. I see we're already over time, but I think 1 or 2 comments will still do. Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
For me, I found this refreshing because I've already studied like Python, Power BI, and I haven't been using it for a long time, but it was nice seeing like how to visualize data, because most of the times like you would find that you have data and you know what you want to say about the data, but then you wouldn't know which like type of visualization to use, like your pie charts, your bar. Sometimes, yeah, you cannot communicate data well. So it was actually refreshing, and like, okay, especially like defining your problem, that was actually key to me, because most of the times you get lost in the data and just trying to give an answer to a problem that you don't even know. So thank you. Thank you for that.
I'm glad I was able to help you out with that. But be careful with most of the BI tools. Like, it's a new industry. I'm not kidding. They keep on updating every month. So every month there's new features. If you let it there for like 6 months or a year, by the time that you come back, it looks like a new tool, because everything else has moved. So just every now and then come in, pop in whatever data that you have, try to throw it into the BI to check what does it look like, because every month there's some improvement on it. Before you know it, you have to relearn the whole thing.
I think I'll do that. I'll try like start playing around with Power BI again, because yeah, it's been long since I did that.
Okay. Okay, let's just close this, guys. We have tendency of going over time, but let me thank you again for coming through. This was our Thursday session. We're doing the same on Monday, same time, same link, same everything. The whole idea why we are so investing in this thing is just to inspire you so that you can become better or even excellent expert analyst. So if whatever you feel, we will post this video. You might watch it again and see something. Pop a comment on YouTube and I'll come back and we will be able to answer that. So let me just thank you for joining. Have a good evening. Cheers.